Today we're going over the division of rational numbers. So that would be, again, fractions and decimals. So let's start with this guided practice, and then we'll do some on our own, and then you'll go finish the rest of the packet on your own. Remember, the last page is a homework assignment you need to turn in on Canvas. So suppose that the volume of water in rain barrel decreases by 4 5/8 gallons in 4 minutes. What will be the change in volume of water after 1 minute? So we need to take this big number and divide it into 1 minute increments so we know how much is going to be in 1 minute. So we'll take this we're going to take 4 5/8 and turn it into an improper fraction. Well, let's figure that out over here in our little think bubble, right? This might not always be something we need to write down eventually when we get comfortable, but for us, we're still practicing, so we're going to make sure we write it down. 4 5/8. We need to know that we need to multiply up because we're seeing how many eighths are going to go back onto the numerator, because you remember we took the eighths out, now we're putting them back in. So we're going to put 4 eighths back in. Well, 4 times 8 equals 32. So we're going to say, now that we know that it's going to be 32 we're adding back in, we need to go ahead and add back in. So then now we have 32, and we're going to add 5. That leaves us with a total of 37. So if we're turning it into an improper fraction, and actually this doesn't even need an arrow because they do equal each other. I'm just going to turn this into an equal sign. They equal each other. We have 37 eighths. So we're going to take that 37 and fill it in the box. They already made it negative because that's what it was decreasing, so that means it's negative. And we're going to divide that by 4 over 1 because it took 4 minutes. And if we put a whole number over 1, it turns it into a fraction. So now we're going to do what we call keep, change, flip. And I'm going to write it over here. Keep the first number, change the second number, or the division to multiplication. Oh, running out of space. And then flip. You guys, I can't spell. Oh, made it worse. There we go. All right, let's try that again. Flip the second number. And think of it as KFC, except it's KCF. So we're keeping this first number, so that 37 is going to get filled in here. We changed our division to multiplication, and then we're going to flip the fraction. So we have 4 over 1 right now, so we're going to change that to 1 over 4. So now we have negative 37 eighths times 1/4. Now, the top proper terminology, which you may see in other places, is called multiplying by its reciprocal. Reciprocal just means opposite. So that means we're just going to change the second number to its opposite so we can multiply. Because we know how to multiply, not so much divide. So now we have 37 times 1. We're going to remember, put it all over the same number. We have 37 times 1, and we're going to add that negative there so we don't forget about it. And then we'll say 8 times 4. Well, negative 37 times 1 gives us negative 37. But they wrote the negative right here, so we don't really need to write it. So I'm going to leave it like that. So now we have 37, and then 4 times 8 is 32. So we have negative 37 over 32. But that's not how we leave our numbers. That's not how we simplify. We can take a 32 out of that. We can take 132, so now we have negative 1. And we left with, after we take 32 out of it, we'll say 37 minus 32. And we'll have 5 left over. So negative 1 and 5, 30 seconds is our answer. We always circle our answer. And that's pretty much division as it is. We're going to turn it into multiplication and do all the same steps we did for multiplication. So let's try another one. So here we have a mixture of decimals and fractions. So I'm going to show you two different ways, and then you're going to do the rest of the packet. So on this one, it says the location of a submarine changes by 0.06 or negative 600 kilometers each minute. How much time does it take to get to the sea bottom? So this is the sea bottom at negative 3/4. So let's write that down. Our point sea bottom, right? So we know sea bottom is negative 3/4. We are going at negative 600 a minute. So I'm first going to turn this negative 600 into a fraction. So we have negative 6 over 100 because we're in the hundredths place, so we can put it over 100. And we're going to now figure out, are we multiplying or are we dividing? Well, this is our dividing section, so we can take a guess we're dividing. And that's because we're going to take this distance of negative 3/4 and divide it into 600ths until we can figure out how many times we can divide it into those 600ths, and that'll tell us how many minutes it'll take us. So we're going to say, let's just put this here so we know what this had to do with. We're going to say negative 3/4, and we're going to divide that into negative 6 over 100. So now we're already in our improper fractions. Well, they're proper fractions, but they don't have a mixed number, so we can leave them as is. And so we're going to do our keep, our change, and our flip. So we're going to keep this first number, negative 3/4. We're going to change this to multiplication, and we're going to flip this fraction to say negative 100 over 6. So now we're going to multiply across. Negative 3 times negative 100 gives us a positive 300, and 6 times 4 gives us 24. Now we could either start by saying how many 24s we can take out of 300, and that's a big number, so I think I'm going to try and simplify first. So let's go with dividing them into smaller numbers. So I need to think of my multiples of 24. There's 6 and 4, there's 1 and 24, there's 3 and 8, and there is, I think that's it actually, 3, 8, 1, 24, 6, 4. So now we need to figure out what number, the biggest number I can divide 300 by. I already know it's not going to be 1 or 24. So I need to figure out what is my biggest number I can divide 300 by. Well, I know for sure I can divide it by 3, so let's start there. So divide it by 3. Oops, sorry guys. 3 here, divided by 3. And we're going to say our new number is 100 over 8. That's a lot more feasible of a number we can come up with. But they're both even, so I already know I can make them smaller. So let's divide by 2. And so that leaves me with 50 over 4. Well, shoot, we can still divide them into even smaller numbers. So let's go with another 2. And sometimes the process is like this, guys. You might not know the biggest number. We might have even forgotten a number over here that is a multiple of 24. We did. We forgot 12 and 2. So there were more multiples, and we might forget that sometimes. But guess what? As long as you know that you can keep chopping at it and getting it smaller and smaller, we will eventually get there. So now I'm going to erase these multiples over here because we don't need them anymore. We already know what they were. And we're going to say 50 divided by 2 equals 25. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now we're at our smallest number. There is no getting smaller. So now we need to see how many 2's can we take out of 25. Well, I can take 12 2's, and I'm left with 1 over, because 12 times 2 is 24. That means I'm left with 1 on top, and it's still our 2 on bottom. So it's 12 and a half. And don't forget our label of minutes. Well, that's it, guys. That should be it. I am going to show you one. I think I'm going to leave it at that. Always turn your decimals into fractions. It makes it easier. I was going to show you how to turn the fractions into decimals, but I'll leave that for another video. If you have any questions, always feel free to email me, and make sure you get the rest of the notes done. They are also on Canvas under the daily agenda.